Welcome back in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365. Back after a couple-day hiatus, and we don't miss many days here on Birds 365. For those who have been watching this show or listening to this show for a long time, you know, for the most part, we are here. So it's good to be back with everybody. We appreciate you while watching, listening today. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave a review if you're listening on podcast, whatever it is on the platform you're listening on. Do what you can to help us grow the show, and we appreciate that from you guys. Johnny Mac, week 17, Eagles, Cowboys, Cooper Rush, Kenny Pickett.
Ugh.
John, give me something to get excited about for this weekend.
Boy, no juice whatsoever. It's a necessary evil to get through the next 2 weeks. You got to win a game, though. So, I mean, the Eagles are better prepared to win a game. You know, one thing, I do find it ironic. There's a lot of Kenny Pickett hate, which I always find interesting with Eagles fans. It's because they latch on to some players. They latch off of other players. I don't know what Kenny did. He's from the area. He grew up an Eagles fan. He loves the Eagles. He loved the Eagles growing up. I don't know. Maybe you can explain this one to me, or some of the fans can. I don't understand. He's a good backup. He's played a lot of football. I thought he persevered pretty well to the point. You know, they scored 33 points. Jalen Hurts missed. Remember, Jalen Hurts left in that second drive. Kenny had to finish it. So he was on the field for, 26 of the 33 points? That should be good enough to win. I don't know. I don't know why there's such a disconnect. But I think he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in football. I think so is Cooper Rush. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, and that's all you're looking for is for a backup in this league is competency. But maybe Nick Foles broke that for Philadelphia. And I think Kenny will provide that, can provide that, and I think they'll be fine. You know, one of the things, if we go back to the preseason, I guess a lot of it stems from that. There's nothing more invaluable in the NFL than, I say this all the time for people that watch us in the offseason training camp, than second team reps. They're garbage. They're constant garbage.
Yeah.
They're hot garbage because everybody's got bad backup offensive linemen. I go back to the Marcus Mariota year, the year prior. Everybody's like, Marcus stinks. Marcus was playing shortstop before he got to play quarterback because the Eagles didn't even have a backup center that could shotgun snap it. That's how bad those reps were. So I wouldn't judge anything on backup reps, nor would I judge anything on Tanner McKee's one good game in the preseason against guys who are delivering holiday gifts for Amazon this holiday season. But shout out to those guys because they work hard too. But
they do, man. They work.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, if you see a preseason game and one guy is playing against four stringers, but he's playing better than the guy against second stringers, everything's even. So I get it from that perspective. But understand the Eagles' mind, there's no competition. Kenny Pickett's the backup quarterback.
It is weird though. You know, like there's an old saying, I guess, that the backup quarterback's the most popular guy in town. They just jumped Kenny, and now and that's evidently Tanner McKee in this town. Look, we already got some people. McKee is fire.
Why? No, I encourage those people. Why would you think Tanner McKee is fire?
I don't know.
Seriously.
I don't
know.
Seriously. Because I mean, 6'5", maybe. I don't know. I have no clue.
I get to see him a lot more than you see him, and he ain't fire. Trust me. Yeah. You'd be excited right up until you got to see him play, I would say.
Is John? You covered this team through the Carson Wentz era. Does part of it have anything to do with Jalen Hurts in that? Like, I feel like our fans are more protective of Jalen Hurts.
Oh my God, they are. Did you see what they did to Shepty?
No, I didn't.
Or Adam Schefter. So the Eagles had a as I said, they had a walkthrough on Tuesday, Christmas Eve. Now, by NFL rule, you don't have to put out a status report until Wednesday.
Right.
So they didn't practice on Wednesday, but they practiced on Tuesday, just a walkthrough. So it's an estimation. So they put it out on Christmas Day, and at the bottom they have the sort of the fine print, and they say the Eagles did not practice today. This is an estimation. They do it every time they do a walkthrough, even when they practice with a walkthrough. Now, Shepty tweeted it out that Jalen Hurts didn't practice today. Oh, my God. And I'm not saying poor Shepty, but the Eagles fans just attacked him. Yep, that's because the Eagles didn't practice. And the whole point is he wasn't going to practice.
Yeah, and he didn't practice on Thursday either.
And he didn't practice on and they're going to his defense and jumping on his sword like it's some kind of egregious. And Shepty should have gotten it right. I mean, that's what we strive to do. And it's fine. He got it wrong. They didn't practice, but he wasn't going to practice. So at the end of the day, I think, yeah, they want to protect him at all costs. I don't know why. It's not his fault. It's not
Is
even
it more elevated than it was with Wentz? I guess it's hard to decipher that now because you're in the moment with Jalen, but
yeah, I think it is.
Like the fan, everybody in the comments, don't forget, don't leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. We're a little more protective of Jalen Hurts than we have been of any other quarterback.
Well, there's a weird disconnect. I think the fans that are protective of him are way more protective of him. And then there's the Brian Pumpers of the world who can't stand him. So you have the two extremes. But there's far more of the protective extreme. And he doesn't need protection. He's fine. He's got thick skin. But the concussion protocol is not up to the player. It's not up to the team. You got to pass through the protocol. So you're not protecting him. Everybody knew he wasn't practicing. And like I said, I think the Eagles might be playing it cautious because of the finger, to be honest. And see, this is an opportunity to get him some rest, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out today.
We'll see what happens. John, going into this weekend with no CeeDee Lamb now for Dallas. Who are we game planning for, John? Who are we telling the great
Rico Dowdle?
The great people of Birds 365. Who are we educating? Who are we informing them to keep your eye on in this game? Is it Jalen Tolbert? Is it maybe Cavante Turpin?
Rico Dowdle. Yeah, Turpin is an explosive player, but he's more of a manufactured tut guy. I'm sure they'll try a couple shots, a couple things to Cavante Turpin, because if you get him in the open field, and by the way, as a kick returner, because the weather is going to be crappy, but it's going to be hotter, so maybe that helps the kickoffs. But if they kick off the way they kicked off in Washington, they might have some kickoff troubles because he's the best kickoff returner in football. And the only way you stop that is if you kick it out of the end zone or kick it in the end zone. Don't give him the opportunity to return it. And he might take it out from 5-6 yards deep. So they need better kickoffs coming off that Washington game. But again, when you're talking about the kickoff returner, that's not a good sign. Jake Ferguson's a good tight end. Yeah, but again, you're talking about tight ends. Brandon Cooks is a veteran receiver. He's not going to scare you, though. Rico Dowdle's been the guy. He's been better down the stretch of the season. And he's done a good job for him. I think he's over 900 yards or near 900 yards. They had a really bad running game for most of the year. And all of a sudden, they've gotten a little bit better during this streak. And the defense has gotten a little bit better as well. But it's not good. I mean, let's be honest. It's not good for Dallas. There's not much you're losing sleep over. I would say that. No, but I would say Rico Dowdle's the guy. And that's pretty much says why you're not losing sleep.
Yeah. Last time we played Cooper Rush in Dallas, we won 34-6. Cooper Rush was 13 at 23
Yeah.
for 45
Yeah.
yards and was
Yeah.
mercifully pulled for Trey Lance, as Dave
Yeah.
Zander.
At the time after that game, people were are they finally going to see what Trey Lance has? And Cooper's gotten better and he's played better.
Yeah. A little
But he's,
better the last couple of weeks.
he's not certainly explosive. And I know I think a PFF of the 41 quarterbacks who played enough to be graded, he's 41st. So that's not good. Yeah. They're not explosive. Let's put it that way.
They have nobody, especially without CeeDee Lamb. I don't see how they move the ball at all in this game. I guess the one guy, John, you got a game plan for is Micah Parsons on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, and Mike has gotten frustrated, as you can imagine. But yeah, he's a really good player. And like, talking to the offensive lineman this week, because a lot over the past few days, because Jalen Hurts and Saquon gave them all golf carts. It's a pretty cool gift.
I saw that.
So we've been talking to him about that, and they all bring up Micah unprompted, when they're talking about the game. Cam Jurgens being the latest yesterday, who doesn't even, play him that much. He'll occasionally line up inside, but not that much. Yeah, they're hyper focused on Micah Parsons, but it's also easier to deal with them when there's not much else to deal with. So you can just look for him and slide everything his way. And the Eagles always do that. So nothing new. When the Cowboys are good, when the Cowboys aren't good, since Micah Parsons has gotten in this league, he's been the number one sort of person they game plan for.
Right. John, now I want to pick your brain on this. If you're an opposing team, okay, and you have a great pass rusher like Cowboys with Micah Parsons, or like the Pittsburgh Steelers have with TJ Watt, or the Browns have with Myles Garrett, the great pass rushers in the league, and you look at that Eagles offensive line, where do you want to line them up? I mean, in a way, you're not. None of them are good options. But like, do you expect Micah to be on Lane more because maybe the age advantage? Do you expect him to be on Mailata because maybe Mailata might not be as polished on some of Micah's moves? Like, it's a tough thing because they're both incredible tackles, top 2 tackles in the NFL at their respective positions. Who do you game plan for? How do you decide where to line them up?
Well, I think he lines up mostly on Lane's side because that's what he's most comfortable with.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change. The Eagles are just better equipped than most teams to handle it. And that's the luxury the Eagles have because Lane's going to account for himself very well, no matter who the player is, including Micah Parsons. But Micah's also going to get him now and again as well. And sometimes that's not the case with other players. But yeah, it's mainly on that side. And they will move him around a little bit. And again, if I would line him up more inside to try to take advantage of the athleticism. But if the player's not comfortable with that, it's easy you can line up anybody, like I always say. You can line up anybody anywhere you want. But if they're not effective because they're not comfortable with it or as effective, you kind of making things more difficult for yourself. So but the majority of the time he'll be lined up against Lane.
Interesting matchup here is this defense, the Cowboys defense. I know they're depleted, and I don't expect them to really win this game, but you do have Kenny Pickett presumably playing the game. The Cowboys are on a 4-1 stretch right now, and in that stretch, John, They have 12 takeaways since week 12, 7 interceptions and 5 fumbles. They're taking the ball away on that defensive side of the ball. How do you game plan for that if you're Philly? You got Kenny Pickett in there.
Well, that's
you
the thing,
want to
and
get AJ the ball, but
that's really when you talk. And speaking of Mike as well, he's a big force fumbles guy,
right.
And you're playing a backup quarterback who hasn't been used to playing, and sometimes that can be a problem when that big arm comes in to swipe the football, and you're not used to that contact because you haven't been playing. Could be an issue, but Kenny's got to be hyper aware of it. I'm sure they've mentioned the name Micah Parsons a time or two this week, so he's going to be hyper aware of that. And the silver lining to having Kenny Pickett in it, the ball's going to come out quicker on time, more than it typically would. So, that could be one little silver lining to it.
It'll be interesting to see how Kenny matches up, John, with that defense. The other thing I want to talk about, a couple other things on this game, is Saquon Barkley and what he could do. We talked about him a little earlier in the show with the records. Well, this is probably his best chance to get close, but it's kind of a catch-22 because with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, you got to think that the defense is going to be focused on stopping Saquon first, right? I mean, I know A.J. Brown's a great player, but I don't know if you trust the quarterback who's getting him the football. You're taking away Saquon Barkley. That would be the first priority for the Cowboys defense. How do you think the Eagles' running attack matches up with that?
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys haven't been good. They've gotten better as the season second half. They got some players back. I know Eric Kendricks is questionable. He's not the greatest run stuffer to begin with, even when he was a good player. Mozzie Smith is a guy that's been disappointing as a first-round pick. Was supposed to be a run stuffer, really isn't.
Yeah.
So they do have Linval Joseph. He's probably their best guy still playing. They're not good at it. So, yeah, I mean, I same thing Washington did after Jalen left the game. They're going to load the box. And they're going to do everything to try to stop the running game and say, all right, Kenny Pickett, beat us throwing the football. To me, it's obvious what Dallas is going to do. And that's load up and try to stop Saquon the best way possible. And, he had the 168-yard run against Washington. And really after that, they completely shut him down with the added bodies. So it is difficult, even if you don't have a great run defense team on paper. That's generally because you can't afford to put extra bodies in the box. Teams are going to say, all right, we don't care. We're going to put the extra bodies in there. And if you beat us throwing the football, and if that changes during the game and you start making big plays in the passing game, maybe that loosens things up. But yeah, it should be, in theory, it's going to be tough sledding for Saquon because they're going to be hyper focused on stopping him.
John, if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you want to win this game this weekend, I think one of the spots you're looking, and it's not a likely spot that we talk about every week, is the Eagles kickoff team. The Commanders' average starting spot last week was at the 38-yard line. And you're going up against Cavante Turpin, maybe the best return man in the NFL. He's averaging a league-high 34.4 yards per return. John, is this going to be a big – I mean, is it Braden Mann? Is it Michael Clay? Is it who are we blaming for this putrid kickoff coverage?
Well, it was definitely Braden Mann in Washington. I mean, it was just short kicks.
Yeah, he
started with the first kick. I mean, they had the penalty on the first kick of the game, and they started at the 40-yard line. And then the second kickoff was McCaffrey taking it back 47 yards because it was so short. And then it got wiped out by Jalen Carter forcing a fumble on like the second play. They had awful, and then if you go to the end of the game, McCaffrey had Um, I think it was a 30-yard return, something on that gave him good field position. And Sidney Brown jumped early and left early, so they tacked on 5 yards. So they great field position for the game-winning drive. It was a freaking disaster in Washington. But it starts with Braden Mann kicking the ball in the end zone.
Well, why do they not use Jake Elliott on them?
Supposedly, Braden Mann has a stronger leg, and he has for most of the season. But
it doesn't look like he does now.
Well, and whether that was the weather, because it was really cold in Washington, Landover, Maryland, to be specific, really cold. It's going to be 60 and rainy on Sunday, so maybe that helps because the rain's not going to stop the kickoff as much as the cold weather.
Yeah, but John, I must say, I don't remember this ever being a thing with Jake. I've never heard in the past Jake Elliott can't get the ball to the end zone or something on kick. Like I've never heard that. Is that a thing? Is Braden Mann much better at it?
Yeah, Braden Mann's got a stronger leg. That's why he's doing it.
I just feel like I've never seen Jake Elliott like not make it to the end zone or
well, there's not a lot of games where it's an issue. And it shouldn't be an issue in this game. It's only an issue in really cold weather games, right, which last week was. Plus, I think on top of it, Braden probably had a bad game on top of it. Not probably, definitely did. And it was a bunch of short kickoffs. But if you look at the other side, there were short kickoffs as well. They just did a better job.
Right. Well, that's on coverage then, right?
Yeah, certainly coverage is a part of it, but they were shorter for the Eagles than Washington. But everything was short for Washington as well, is what I'm trying to say. Because it doesn't matter who the kicker was, it was going to be an issue getting the football deep. Hopefully that's not an issue, because the only way to guarantee stopping Turpin is to kick it deep in the end zone.
Yeah. I mean, I would touch back every play. I mean, I don't care about the 30.
If you can. And hopefully they can. Hopefully the weather helps them this week.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I will say that the Jake Elliott thing is a little bit befuddling to me, because I'm like, all right, if you think Braden Mann's more accurate or whatever, okay, that's fine. But I've never once watched Jake Elliott on a kickoff and been like, oh, he's not going to make it to the end zone or something like that. Like I've never even thought that. But I guess that's why they're using Braden Mann.
Yeah, he's got a stronger leg. Yeah.
Why have I never seen this, John? And in fact, Braden Mann's leg looked like a shrimp leg last week.
Well, it did, but all year you never saw it because it was fine, because there weren't bad weather games. It was just kicking in the end zone.
Well, the playoffs are going to be bad weather, man. We need one of these kickers to freaking step up.
Well, they don't have the super legged guy. Neither of them is somebody that can kick it through that stuff. And there's a few. Aubrey's one for Dallas. I mean,
yeah, he got a big leg.
Yeah. They don't have that player. So, it is what it is. They, yeah, but they don't, but Braden had a bad game. But I'm sure nobody noticed Braden's kickoffs before today's game, and a lot of people didn't even know he was kicking off before last week's game, because he just kicked it in the end zone all the time, like everybody does. But in that particular game, and Zane Gonzalez was not kicking it in the end zone either, because it was really freaking cold.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in this one. John, that Eagles defense, I'm reading these stats on CeeDee Lamb. Boy, he had a good season, man. I mean, even without Dak Prescott out there, 101 catches for CeeDee Lamb, 1194 yards, and he's really their main target. So you got to think defense's game plan for him. That's a special player, and without him out there, I don't think the Cowboys even have an inkling of a chance in this game.
Yeah, very special player. I'm surprised you said
I got
that.
some shit for that when I said that.
Oh, yeah.
Weeks ago.
Well, that's why I'm surprised.
People ask me, Well, the debate on the show was Devonta Smith or CeeDee Lamb, and I said CeeDee
Oh,
Lamb.
come on, dude.
I think CeeDee Lamb is
Come
more in
on.
the conversation with A.J. Brown, not really the conversation with Devonta Smith.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I see it.
Come on, Eagles fans, stop it. You're getting to stop it.
You're
Yeah,
getting to stop it.
CD Lamb's great. He's quarterback proof. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. He's putting up number. Yeah, I mean, come on. You got to be able to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. Yeah, CD's in the AJ conversation. He's top 5 receiver in football.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, very good player. Very, very good player.
Speaking of AJ, John, let me look real quick at the stats. But I think last week.
By the way, the Eagles had 6 kickoff returns yet last week. That's how bad it was. They had 6 kickoff returns,
which is brutal.
Washington had 7. Nobody was kicking the ball in the end zone. Nobody. That's how bad it was.
So the Eagles played the Commanders last week. Kenny Pickett had 3.5 quarters of play, and A.J. Brown had his most targets all year long, John. Is it an A.J. Brown game Sunday?
You know, that's my one fear is that it's not a fear because I don't really care. But if the Eagles have a good offensive game, it's going to look differently. Because, again, the ball's going to come out on time. So people are going to notice. And you're going to have somewhat of a controversy. Not a real controversy. Certainly not a controversy for the Eagles. But it's going to look different. It's going to look like a more traditional offense. Is how I would describe it.
You think this week more so than it did last week because they have more time to game plan, obviously, for Kenny?
Yeah, they didn't game plan at all for Kenny. Right. Kenny came in, Kenny's practicing. He's the starter.
He basically ran Jalen Hurts' offense, which wasn't the right fit for him.
So this week, it's going to be, game plan specific for Kenny. And if he plays well, he might play poorly. But if he plays well, it's going to be because it's in rhythm. The ball's out. He's targeting, the right people, and, people are going to take notice of that against a bad Dallas team, other than, it's a bad Dallas team. So it's not a fear because I don't care, but that's the way it's going to look if the Eagles play well. It's going to look like a more traditional offense. And it's going to look more rhythmic. Which, people are going to take that baton where they're going to take that baton. So get ready for it.
I don't think that's coming, John. I don't think any Eagle fan in the right mind is going to be calling.
It's almost no. I'm not saying you're going to have people calling for Kenny Pickett to be the starter. I think they're going to point out very clearly what the offense looked like and why doesn't it look like that with Jalen Hurts. That's what I'm saying. Nobody's that stupid. I shouldn't say nobody, but very few. But people are going to take notice of it. And again, it's a catch-22 because you want them to play well, but people are going to take notice of it.
You think Devonta Smith, John, gets involved this week? A couple of people in the chat. My great guy Wayne the Pain here. Wayne, hopefully you get your thing soon. I think it's supposed to deliver today, Wayne. I shipped out. He was one of our great winners from last week. Wayne says, correct. I'll target Smitty more this week. Help his confidence after that drop. I think that's fair to assume. John, what do you think of that?
I don't think Smitty has any issues with confidence.
I don't either.
0 issues with confidence.
I love what Devonta Smith said after the game, by the way, after that drop. I mean, that is my type of answer.
I mean, everybody drops the football. Everybody drops the football. Devontae drops it less than anybody else on this team.
Less than most, yep.
He does not need confidence. You don't need to bolster his confidence. He made a mistake. He acknowledged his mistake. He moves on. It's what the great receivers do. I always say I covered the guy who never dropped the football, and that was Chris Carter. And even he dropped the football once in a blue moon. They are human beings.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, don't expect it to happen again.
I will not. I think Devonta will be just good, but you do want to get him the ball. I think getting him the
Got the
ball.
ball last week. He got it.
Yeah.
John,
they were the only two guys who got the ball last week. Kenny Pickett threw to Devonta and AJ over.
Hey,
and over
not
and
a bad,
over
not a bad plan. Not a bad plan.
I cannot blame him.
Not a bad
really
plan.
though. Devonta had 6 catches. AJ had 8 catches. And the only other person who had a catch in that game was Kenny Gainwell, 1 catch for 6 yards. That's
Saquon should have. Saquon, and by the way, he took accountability too.
He was the only other guy with a target.
Yeah, and that was a hell of a throw. And boy, the Eagles cooked it up. And I was given all kinds of credit to in the moment. I was given a great play call by Kellen Moore. They caught Washington with the wheel route. Back shoulder, which is the only thing Kenny did well in training camp. He's a great back shoulder guy. Perfect throw. It is what it is.
Kenny with a big throw, and Saquon drops it. A couple drops from Saquon, John, this year. Not the greatest receiving back for sure.
Gee, I wonder if anyone heard that.
Johnny Mac told us that on Bird 365 way back in July and August, John.
Yeah. It's interesting. Because people like to give me crap because I had saying I didn't think and I didn't think Saquon would have this kind of impact. But I said it's going to be more of an impact running the football because he's a better runner. Now, I didn't think he'd be up threatening Eric Dickerson, but my prediction was 1,700 total yards and about 350 receiving and the rest of it running because he's not that good of a receiver. I don't even think he's at 300 receiving yet.
I want to say he's
high 280s somewhere. High 200s, 280ish, I think. But yeah, but the running has been phenomenal. And that's fine. He's been more than the Eagles could have asked overall. But as a receiver, Kenny Gainwell's the best receiving back on this team.
Yeah, he's got 276 in the air right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And 2 big drops. 2 big drops.
2 big drops. Definitely the one big drop at the end of the game. Or what was that? The Falcons game, right, John?
Falcons game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That last guy, John, I'll ask about. Billy 4 for 4. Where is Dotson? Still learning the playbook? Where the hell is this guy, John? What the? Quez Watkins was better than this guy.
Same place, Quez, Julio, Olamide.
We used Quez more than this, though, and Jalen Hurts was still our quarterback. What the hell is going on with this guy?
Well, they used Quez a little bit more, but if you think about the end of Quez, no. You know who the leading receiver was against the Eagles last week? It wasn't Terry McLaurin. It was Olamide Zaccheaus.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Olamide going to run today.
They don't use third receivers. And Olamide, by the way, had 2 touchdowns. And I'm not saying he's great, but he can play a little bit. And so could Quez Watkins. And so could Julio Jones, even at the end of his career. And so can Jahan Dotson. They don't use third receivers.
They don't.
Now, when Dallas Goedert is healthy, they get the tight end involved. They've even got Grant Calcaterra involved. Not last week, but overall a little bit. And more so Kenny or Saquon than the third receiver. For whatever reason, they don't use the third receiver. And it's not just
Quez break Jalen's trust in wide receiver 3? Because if you look back at the stats, Quez had 2021, Quez was number 2. Let's keep it clear there because AJ wasn't here yet. So he had 647 yards with 62 targets. Well, 2022, when you added A.J. Brown and he had a 14 or 1,500 yard season, Devontae was over 1,000 and the team went to the Super Bowl. Quez had 51 targets for 33 catches and 354. Last year, he had 21 targets. So he went less than half what he had in 22, and now he's out of the league. I don't think he's logged a stat yet this year. I don't think he's on a team even.
I think he's on the Pittsburgh practice squad.
Yeah, I knew he was in Pittsburgh, but
yeah, I mean, look, I think if I don't think Jahan Dotson is any kind of superstar, but if I think he was on a different team, he'd have 30, 40 receptions. This offense doesn't utilize the third receiver, and it's not just Jahan Dotson. And why? I don't know why. You know, I think they're a better team when they spread the field and play with rhythm and send 5 receivers out. I think they're a better team, and they don't do it that much. Maybe they're waiting to unfurl it in the playoffs. They did it against Pittsburgh. It worked really well. I think they're better when they spread the field. I think the quarterback is better. And they have the luxury of doing that because they have an offensive line that can hold up with little help. But they don't use Jahan Dotson.
No, they don't. Boy, I was drinking Kool-Aid early in the year. I was thinking we'd get a 50-yard game from Johnny Wilson, Quez Watkins, Johnny Wilson, Anais Smith, Jahan Dotson. It doesn't matter who's out there. They're not getting the ball.
Yeah. You know, I was having this discussion with Andrew DeCecco yesterday, and it still bothers me how he's manipulation at the bottom of the roster bothers me.
I agree.
Because he doesn't want to give up on Johnny Wilson and Anais Smith, some of these younger players, and the Jack Stolls of the world are getting picked up on waivers by Miami. He doesn't even want to be there. He could help this team as Dallas Goedert. You know, Patrick Johnson, when they needed an extra edge rusher, good special teams player. A year after losing Christian Ellis, good special teams player, and they can't cover a kickoff. All to keep guys who don't play. Don't play. They got 3 offensive linemen that are freaking inactive every week. Every week. Nick Gates, Darian Kennard, Trevor Keegan. And Nick Gates is a veteran, and he's one of my favorite people in that locker room. Anybody who meets Nick Gates is going to love the guy. But, I mean, he doesn't contribute. You know, you think Patrick Johnson wouldn't be playing right now?
He would certainly be playing. He's the one guy. He's the one that got away from me.
You think Jack Stoll wouldn't be playing right now?
Yeah, because Calcaterra, holy shit, John. I can't watch him try and block somebody anymore. I can't watch it. Calcaterra trying to block somebody is one of the worst things you'll ever watch. He can't do it.
It's yeah. I think and you know, if Trevor Keegan or you know, in the case of, and that's why I use Nick Gates, because Nick Gates is more prepared to play right now. But you know, obviously Nick's not going to be here next year. You know, maybe Trevor Keegan develops down the road. Maybe Darian Kennard develops down the road. Maybe Anais Smith develops down the road. Maybe Johnny Wilson develops down the road. Maybe Eli Ricks. Eli Ricks doesn't play. They've kept him for 2 years. He's not a good
They got rid of Josh Jobe, who would have been playing on special teams.
Josh Jobe is doing a hell of a job on Seattle. He's starting. He was hurt yesterday, but he's a great, he was a great special teams player here. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Josh Jobe. It's another.
I don't know what the fascination is with Eli Ricks. I guess because he played a couple snaps last year, and
because he got a pick 6 in Baltimore in the preseason. Come on, Howie. It's like a WIP caller at times with these young players. I mean, he's been here for 2 years. And Josh Jobs is out there making plays for a potential playoff team.
See, I'm awake, says Job stunk here. That's not really true. Job wasn't ready to be a corner yet. I'm awake, but he was great on special teams.
Jobs was their top punt gunner for that entire time that you're not noticing him. And again, people don't care about special teams.
Yeah, but they should. Look at what happened last week.
Exactly.
Look at what happened in the Super Bowl. We lost in 22.
Yeah. Kaylee Ringo's done a good job too, and he took over for Josh as the punt gunner.
He's done well.
He's done a good job, but the second one has been an issue at the time. And if you had them both, it wouldn't be an issue. And again, it's not, Josh is not playing here as a corner. He's playing in Seattle as a corner because they don't have as much depth. He's not playing here, but he'd be here on special teams. And my point is, he helps more than Eli Ricks, and that was the decision.
Yeah, right. I know exactly what you're saying. It's not hard to understand. I don't know why. He's going to play more on special teams.
Yeah,
Eli Ricks
way more. Like he's one of your core guys on special teams.
Yeah, and I'm awake. Special teams isn't everything. Well, it's something. It's more than what Eli Ricks has done, dude.
Yeah.
Let's get to. We got a couple super chats here, Johnny Mac. Appreciate everybody. By the way, it's great to be back with the people of JAKIB Nation. We appreciate all of you guys. I don't remember the last time we took two straight shows off. So we appreciate you guys for being back tuned in with us today. Rainy Boy checks in. I live in Chiefs country, Chiefs County, born and raised in Kansas, still fly, Eagles fly. Look at that. Boy, it must have been tough
there.
Yeah, man. 22 must have been a tough one for you, my friend. We appreciate you being here, man. Good stuff and fly, Eagles fly. Eric Holland says, I live in VA, military. Got you, brother. Appreciate your service and thanks for your support of the show. And the Commanders fans are puffing their chest. I want to play them again in the playoffs. Are they the best round one matchup? Well, Eric, right now they're the most likely. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think Atlanta, but they're not a potential round one match. That's the one team I would say would be weaker, but they would.
But they're going to be the 4, right?
Yeah, they're going to win the division if they're in. So that's not a potential. The potential, yeah. I mean, it's pretty much Washington or Green Bay. That's not close,
right? That's basically it, right? For the potentials.
Yeah. Unless you get obviously the number 1 seed, the 2% chance, which is
very unlikely.
Yeah, it's going to be Washington or Green Bay, most likely Washington. Yeah, I would. The Eagles, Washington there were 6 seconds left in the game to win that game to beat Kenny Pickett. I mean, I wouldn't be puffing out my chest if I were the Washington Commanders, but you have to understand that fan base has been down for so long. That's a big game for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Eagles will be heavily favored, should be heavily favored, should beat the you-know-what out of the Washington Commanders in game number 3, if that comes to pass. Yeah, that's remember, in the playoffs, you're generally going to face good teams. So you got to beat some good teams along the way. I'm not saying Washington isn't a good team. I got a lot of shit for telling people how good Jaden Daniels was last week. Again, no apologies. I'll take them in the chat if you'd like. But yeah, they're positive. They're going in a positive direction. But yeah, the Eagles are much better right now. Much better.
Jeff Bone, the Bonehead, John. Jeff Bone, 1R. You want to hear something funny, John? This is great. But Jeff, I appreciated your message, man. It made me appreciate you a lot more and at least understand your perspective. So we had a Jerome Brown jersey, John, to give away. I had an authentic Mitchell and Ness Jerome Brown. When we gave it away on Cilio's show, obviously, because Cilio was, close friends and played with Jerome Brown at Miami. And the people wanted me to give the jersey to Cilio because Cilio will never put anything Eagle in his background. But he said the one jersey I'll make an exception for was I'll wear a Jerome Brown jersey. And the people are like, send it to Cilio. And I'm like, no, I got to give it away to the people. So he gave it away on Tuesday. And the caveat was, if you win the jersey, you can choose to give it to Cilio, and I'll send you one of my Saquon jerseys or Devonta, or I have AJ Brown over there and Quinyon Mitchell. And Bonehead's like, Nah, fuck Cilio. Give me that Jerome Brown jersey. Give me that Jerome Brown jersey right away. He didn't hesitate. So I'm like, all right, Bonehead, you won the Jerome Brown jersey.
I'm surprised. Normally people would take
he said, fuck you, Sills. I don't care about you.
Yeah, that was probably more towards Sills than anything else. I would
No, he really wanted the Jerome. It was cool. He sent me a nice message, and it meant a lot to him to win that during the holidays when it's a tough time for him and his family. So, Bone, I appreciate you reaching out, brother. Congrats on winning the jersey. I got to send it out today. I haven't sent out any of our winners from Tuesday or Monday yet because we had Christmas. So I got about 4 or 5 to send out. The last one I sent was the great Wayne the Pain. Bonehead said, I still say let our starters rest and let the young bulls eat.
No, you got to play until you win the NFC East.
Agreed,
Yeah, you got to win. You got to win this game. So, I mean, obviously, if it's 28-10 in the 10 or the fourth quarter, you're going to sit guys. But no, you got to win this game. Got to win it. Can't mess around.
No doubt. No doubt. Bonehead, appreciate you checking in, brother. Nick Marchetti says they need to put Jake back on kickoffs. He wants to see Jake back on.
They might. Braden was so bad last week. I mean,
I do wonder, John, is it part of the reason that maybe Jake has had some struggles this year? And you think that has anything to do with it?
I mean, we've asked the question multiple times of Michael Clay. We've asked Jake the question multiple times. He claimed it's not an issue, but he's not having a good year. And maybe that is part of the issue. Just doesn't want to admit it. But yeah, I mean, Michael Clay kind of said, we'll take it under advisement. And if Braidman has another game like that against Devonta Turpin, I think Jake's going to be back on kickoffs. But it'll be under advisement. Part of it's Jake's getting older. He's been around a while, so you want to protect the wear and tear. But then you got the back and forth of is he getting into a feel for the game and all that kind of stuff. He finally made a 50-yarder though. Lost in, that was a big kick. Washington had taken the lead for the first time on the Zacchaeus touchdown with the blown coverage. And Kenny Pickett also silver lining, fourth down conversions, and he kicked a 50-yard field goal right on the dot. People were joking, make it a 49.
Right.
Take that 1 yard off and make it back up for the long snapper. But he made it, and hopefully that gets him going in the right direction for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. We need him to have the right. I joked with the Christmas question before. What's a superpower you'd give to a player? And one guy said, give Jake Elliott the superpower. I thought that was actually a decent pick. If you can rely on Elliott more, it helps you a lot. Last one here, Angel Martinez. Angel, thank you, brother. We appreciate you. Appreciate everybody in the chat today. Don't forget to hit that like button for us. Our first day back on Birds 365. Angel says nobody is happier about the Hurts concussion than Kellen Moore, who gets to run his full offense. Johnny Mack, what the hell?
I told you these people are going to come out.
Holy shit, Angel.
The offense is going to look different. I'm not saying it's going to
different styles.
Not going to say it's better. Not going to say it's worse. It's going to look different. And it's going to look like a more traditional NFL offense. Ball coming out on time, anticipatory throws. But I've always said Jalen's a very unique quarterback. You got to embrace the uniqueness. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson doesn't play like a traditional NFL quarterback. Most dual threat guys don't. And there's give and take to that. And sometimes it's going to look ugly, but they're also going to pull plays out of there. That people like Kenny Pickett couldn't dream of. But when things are cooking and things are out on time and things are rhythmic, if that happens, people are going to notice it and say, why doesn't this happen with Jalen Hurts? and they're going to take the baton where they want to take the baton. But, clearly Jalen Hurts is a better option for the Philadelphia Eagles than Kenny Pickett. But you have to play differently with Jalen Hurts than Kenny Pickett.
I side with this guy. All right. Wilfredo says Kenny Pickett fucking stinks. Get him out of here.
Yeah, there's a lot of those people.
I'm at.
What has Kenny Pickett done to you people?
No, he hasn't done anything. I actually like him as a guy. Seems like a great guy. He's from the area. I'm rooting for him, but I don't want him to be the quarterback of my football team. I have not been.
Well, nobody's saying he's the starting quarterback. He's a good backup quarterback.
How about that? I don't even want him as the backup of my football team.
Yeah, well, that part I don't get. But, people always want an all-star behind an all-star. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, that's for certain. John, what's the update on today, man? You going down to NovaCare Complex? What's the Birds schedule?
Yeah, typical Friday. Nick Sirianni will talk before practice, one final practice before Sunday's game against the Cowboys. You'll have the injury report, the status report out later this afternoon. I'm leaning towards Jalen Hurts being ruled out today, but you never know with the Eagles.
I think the one other precedent for this, John, was Trevor Lawrence last year, who who practiced on Friday and then was cleared the concussion protocol by Saturday, and then he was able to play on Sunday. But any other person who wasn't at practice on Friday did not play the game.
Yeah, he definitely has to be out there today.
Yeah, so if he's not out there today, I think he's all but
out. Definitely has to be out there today. And then the Eagles might even they tried to do it earlier, as I said, with Lane Johnson. Didn't work for them. But a couple guys, Ben Van Sumer and Britton Covey. Last week, Sidney Brown did pass the protocol in 1 week for the Eagles this year. League-wide, it's been tougher this year than in years past. And like I said, I think the Eagles want to get that finger settled down as well. So I think that plays into it.
Yeah, I think this is a blessing. I think this is a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I mean, you got to win the game, but I think I'm happy about Jalen Hurts getting healthy before the playoffs. Dirty Air checks in. Dirty Air, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. $10 super chat. He said they don't want Jake messing with how he strikes the ball. Man's ball flight is very punt-like. It makes it harder to catch in certain situations. I don't think it's a power thing. Interesting perspective.
Well, I didn't get the power thing from myself. It's because I was told he's got a stronger leg. But, so from that standpoint, I think he's, going.
He does have some lofty kicks, like high, they got real big flight.
Yeah. So, that's what the team feels. But obviously it didn't. But again, if you look at it from like Brady didn't have a good game, but, the Eagles had 6 kickoffs as well because Washington's kicker wasn't reaching the end zone either. Bad day for kickers.
No, it was a bad day. It was a bad day. All right, Johnny Mac, a couple minutes left on the show here, man, before we let you get down to NovaCare. Our first day back. Felt good to be back on Birds 365. 2 days off, everybody. I was sitting my ass down. No longer doing that. Feels good to be back to work. Let me tell you that. So good to be back with everybody. John, final thoughts on today's show, man. We're prep. Oh, we got to give our predictions. We missed a day. I forgot we had predictions today.
Eagles are going to win the game. Dallas is so limited, as I said. I think the defense, we didn't talk much about the defense today. They're coming off a really poor game as well. Very uncharacteristic game. I think lack of weapons, very similar to the Pittsburgh game, even more so, just complete lack of weapons on the field. I think it makes it easier for the defense. I think they pretty much stymie the Dallas offense. So you're probably talking, and I think Kenny will score enough points, lead the Eagles to enough points. I'm going to say now rain's going to be, it's going to be a rainy day. It looks like.
Is that the weather on Sunday? Rain?
Yeah. Rainy and 60.
That's not going to be good for Kenny. Two gloves, John.
Yeah. Small hands, Kenny. So
those gloves are slippery, John. You know how it gets with the rain.
I'm going to say 24-14 Eagles.
You're getting 14 points out of that Dallas offense?
They'll probably turn it over once. And
I'm going a little
Micah
less than
Parsons
that.
strip sack, short field.
What did we win the first game versus them? Like 34-6 or something? What was it?
Yeah. That was We had I believe 2.1 or 2.2 yards per attempt. Cooper Rush. It was not his best performance.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little bigger than that. I'm gonna go closer to 24-10, maybe 24-7 or somewhere. I don't think this Cowboys team's putting up many
I
points.
think you're getting a strip sack from Micah Parsons and a kickoff return.
I can buy that because
Devontae
Kenny holds
Turpin.
on to that ball.
Yeah, Devonta Turpin kick return. Short fields.
All right, I'll buy that. All right, I'll buy that. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Good prediction. Final thoughts on the show, brother, before we let you go. Get down to NovaCare.
Just roll them out, Nick. That's my final. Just roll them out. They'll play the games. Get over it. All right. That's my final thought.
I love it. All right, Johnny Mac. Great show. Appreciate everybody today on the show. Hit that like button. Are we up to 150? Were we able to get the 150 on our first show back? Not even close. We're at 128. So if we could get 22 likes in the next 2 minutes, would that be nice? That would be very nice. We appreciate all of you guys for watching. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We will talk to you Sunday on the pregame show here on JAKIB Sports. We appreciate you doing it today. Merry Christmas to you, John, and Merry Christmas to everybody in the chat. Hope you guys had a great holiday. Let's turn the page. It's playoff time, baby. It's almost playoff time.
Almost. Next week.
I'm ready.
You got me thinking about the Giants next week. That's going to be a tough week. That's going to be a tough week, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks, everybody. Hope you had a happy holiday season, and thanks for coming right back with us.
We appreciate all you guys. Hit that like button on the way out. Appreciate you. We'll catch you Sunday. We'll be here later today, though. 2 to 6 National Football Show will return as well with the great Big Sills. But until next time, everybody, see you.